Welcome back to Twin Tarot. I'm Gary, and this is not David. Hey, so happy Easter. It's Sunday, April the 20th. It's about 2 in the afternoon. Dave will be coming over in a little bit, but I don't know if we'll have time to record. So I just wanted to throw a quickie out there. And for those of you that enjoy Mother Nature, happy April 20th. So we got a couple things going on today that I want to do a reading. It's going to be kind of another grab bag of topics. Someone had mentioned in the comments that the Pope snubbed JD Vance because JD Vance and his wife were at the Vatican. And that was mostly true. The Pope did end up meeting with him, but it was brief. I think what I read was the motorcade, Vance's motorcade was in the Vatican for less than 20 minutes total. So he and the Pope kind of exchanged pleasantries for Easter, and then they got him the hell out of there. JD Vance, he did meet with the Pope's, with the Vatican Secretary of State, which is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, and the Foreign Minister, Archbishop Paul Gallagher. And when I was reading the article, there was a quote in there that really leapt out at me. And what the quote was, they had an exchange of opinions over migrants and refugees and current conflicts. And I looked at that and I went, whoa, man, oh man, if that doesn't tell you how that conversation went, an exchange of opinions. Ooh, that is the nicest diplomatic speech of saying, we yelled at you. You spouted a bunch of MAGA nonsense and we slammed you for it. An exchange of opinions means, you think what you want to think, JD Vance, and we're going to think what we want to think. There was no meeting of the minds. There was no discussion or anything like that. That was just people voicing what their position is. That is not a positive statement. And anyone in the MAGA world that tries to spin it that way, sorry guys. JD Vance probably felt like a misbehaving 7-year-old while a cardinal and archbishop let him have it, Yeah, JD Vance recently converted to Catholicism. I think he's been a Catholic like 5 years maybe. But, if you just, all you got to do is look at Trump and his policies, it's the most anti-Catholic, anti-Christian stance you can take, Just the Vatican was expressing alarm over the Trump administration crackdown on migrants and international aid and how they're basically depriving people of human rights, and Trump's administration, how they're trying to strong arm peace agreements in the Middle East and in Ukraine. It's just, there's no way they saw eye to eye, and the Vatican let them know in no uncertain terms. And so if there's no one MAGA watching this video, I guarantee it. I had a few on the are we turning the corner video, and if I read those comments early, I'm a lot more patient and thoughtful in my response. Later in the day, after I've been answering comments for 3 or 4 hours, or I'm tired and I want to go to bed and I get a MAGA comment, boy oh boy, do you get the sharp end of me. And then you get blocked. If it's early in the day and I'm in a good mood, I might not block you. But if it's the end of the day or I'm in a pissy mood, you're gonna get a sharp, very direct comment, and then you're gonna be blocked. So that happens. JD's out there trying to stump for Trump and try and convince the Vatican that everything is going great and they should be supporting this, and the Vatican's like, yeah, we don't watch Fox News, guy. We have our own news sources and we've got our own opinions. So for entertainment purposes only, how did JD Vance feel after meeting with the representatives of the Vatican. Okay, foundation of the reading is the Eight of Swords. Well, I'm going to say that JD felt like he really had no way out of this one. You know, the Eight of Swords is like, I don't see a path forward. And seeing as the quote was exchange of opinions, I would say he's probably accurate on that. JD Vance needs to take off the MAGA blindfold. You know, he's only put it on for the last couple of years, but, you know, as long as you're going to be willfully blind, you're not going to find a path forward. The challenge is the Five of Swords, the win at all costs. You know, JD Vance has to go out there and he has to stump for Trump, and he's got to, you know, put on the brave face and make everything look like it's going great, but he's selling it to a bunch of people who aren't drinking that Kool-Aid. Underneath it is the Magician. JD Vance has political aspirations. Vice president is not where he wants to end up. He wants to be the head of the United States. He wants to be the president. So right now he's being the good soldier, and he's trying to manifest these talking points that everything is going great and that he's the next world leader. That's what I'm getting out of that. That could be. This could also be the Vatican's underneath the energy. The Vatican telling him, no. You know, you're not making gold out of poop. Let's see. In the past, the Fool, you know, JD Vance on a new journey. I'm now the vice president. I'm in the executive branch of the government. I'm not a senator. You know, this is Project 2025 advancing its agenda. You know, he's running a fool's errand right now. Current energy, whoops, I got two cards there. Current energy is he's got a choice. Two of Swords, I got a choice. I can continue stumping for Trump, or I can start branching off on my own. I don't think he's ready to branch off on his own. You know, Signalgate kind of showed that he wasn't in lockstep alignment with Trump and Trump's policies. And because that became public, people got to see that JD Vance understands that some of Trump's policies are not in his own best interest. But he has to toe the line as best he can with Trump to, you know, have a chance at running for the Oval Office. Current energy is the Eight of Cups. I think after that meeting with the Vatican, he could not wait to go attend church service. I'm sure that was very uncomfortable for him. And, you know, frankly, I'm not unhappy about that. It should be uncomfortable. What you're doing is horrific. The lesson to be learned is the Nine of Cups, hopes, wishes, dreams fulfilled. You know, we've been calling this the smug merchants, but when I see this, I see, you know, the cup of Christ, you know, the apostles, that, you know, the church won this one. You know, the Vatican won this battle. JD Vance was going out there trying to manifest, trying to show him how Trump's just doing all these great things, and they shut him down, and they shut him down hard. And the Vatican's the one that turned the water into wine. Trump's water to wine? No. What's the outcome of this? Seven of Pentacles. So this is kind of one of those, you know, you might want to take stock of what you hold, what you value, and what you hold dear, and think about reaping what you're sowing. Because right now, the message that's coming out of Trump's is very... I'm going to call it like I see it. It's not a Catholic message. It's not a Christian message. It's playing to Catholics and Christians, you know, allegedly. But if you follow the Word of God, or if you've ever looked at a Bible, you know, or paid attention to any of the commandments, you'd recognize that what Trump is doing is very much against the teachings of the Bible and God and Jesus. My goodness. And I just don't understand these people who proclaim to be very religious embracing this. It just boggles my mind. It's it's the classic case of you show up to church on Sunday and you behave yourself for an hour, and the other 6 days and 23 hours you sin like a motherfucker. And then you go back to church the next Sunday, ask for forgiveness, and you do it again. It's like, were you not paying attention to the readings and the gospel and what the sermon was? Did you forget about everything as soon as you got to your car and you were trying to race out of the parking lot of that church because you wanted to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and have dinner? I mean, come on. We used to go to church on Saturday nights. I guess Sunday mornings, maybe you're off to the donut shop or something. I don't know. But it's just like, pay attention to the word. The whole point of Jesus was to walk the walk and talk the talk. It's he who has never sinned, cast the first stone. In other words, you're all a bunch of sinners. Stop judging this woman who made a mistake, and try and do better yourselves. It's such a simple message. It's all about love, but not with Trump. Trump's message is about darkness and revenge and punishment. Who does that sound like? Urgh. And like I said, I get these Trumpers telling me that he's doing God's work in the comments. It's just like, I just want to beat my head against a wall. All right, so the other thing I wanted to read on was on Harvard University. So Harvard University kind of rebuked Trump's efforts to force change to its campus. And so now some more of the other prestigious universities have kind of rallied around Harvard, Stanford and Princeton, and to a lesser extent, Columbia. Columbia, it was kind of an interesting point where Columbia tried to sort of meet Trump part way in order to restore federal funding. But, they kind of met Trump halfway, and then Trump never restored the federal funding. So it's kind of a cautionary tale, about negotiating with terrorists, right? So what Trump's issue with these colleges, with these prestigious colleges, is he wants to overhaul their admissions, their hiring of teachers, and their teaching practices. In other words, he doesn't want any sort of ideology that doesn't promote Israel as the best and always right. Okay, so if you have anything that's considered to be pro-Hamas or anti-Israeli or anti-Semitic, Trump's trying to shut down all sorts of federal funding. Now, the situation in the Middle East is extraordinarily complex. And there's a bunch of bad things that are being done on both sides. Okay? And at the end of the day, I think we can all sit here and we can agree that the average Palestinian citizen who had nothing to do with this is the one that's suffering the most from this. And we should be doing whatever we can to restore peace to that region, because there are people being killed. Okay? I'm not saying Hamas is right. I'm not saying the Israelis are right. I'm saying there's a whole bunch of people doing shit that's wrong. And we need to do our best to fix this and to end this. It's just wrong on so many levels. And that's not anti-Semitic. I'm definitely not anti-Semitic. I'm very sympathetic. But everybody has a right to survive. And, it just gets up my ass when Trump says stupid shit like we're going to kick all the Palestinians out, and then we're going to make this like this great Riviera full of expensive hotels. God, it sounds like, he and Bibi are just out there ready to carve up all of Palestine. I mean, that whole area is so full of significant religious locations and so much history there. You could totally understand why both sides want to be there, why everyone wants to be there. I mean, this is where, if you read the Bible, if you go to church, everything was happening in this area, right? So it's just a very tricky situation. There's not going to be an easy solution to this, but there is a solution out there. But what Trump's trying to do is basically force colleges into basically a Project 2025 ideology. He's threatening to freeze federal funding to these universities. He's threatening Harvard by trying to revoke their tax exempt status. And it's just, it's, and then he's also threatening to prevent international students, the admissions of international students, which is kind of funny because someone pointed out in an article that, this is really kind of an export because they're paying for our services. So, Trump, who's all about, the trade deficit, is trying to make the trade deficit worse because he's trying to take away students from foreign countries from paying our universities top dollar for educational opportunity. All right, so let's see. Just a quick entertainment purposes only. How are the universities, how is this going to work out for them pushing back against Trump? Okay, so the foundation reading is the King of Cups. They're the ones that are being mature. They're the ones that are keeping their emotions in check. The challenge, the King of Swords, they're being accused of being anti-American, being anti-Semitic. They're being accused of a lot of different things. They're being accused of not using, misclassifying or miscategorizing funds from international students. There's a bunch of attacks that they're having to endure, and they're having to be stoic while these attacks are being thrown at them. Underneath it is the Knight of Cups. They have tried to work with the Trump administration. This is probably specifically looking at like Columbia University, which tried to work with Trump's administration to free up $400 million of federal funding for research, and the administration just not honoring the agreement. In the past, you've got the Seven of Pentacles. This is all the research work that they're doing that benefits everyday Americans. They're working, they're working hard. They have lots of things of value, but it takes time to do it. It's not like they're not producing license plates and furniture there. These are thought institutions. There's research being done here. It takes time, but once you've done the research and you've invested in it, you start getting things that benefit everybody. Current energy is the Knight of Wands. So right now, the universities are taking action. It's just like, hey, we got things we need to get done, and we need to put. They're pushing back. They're taking actions to push back. Overarching energy is the Death card. If they don't push back and they just simply roll over, it's going to be the end of the educational system that we know. This is going to become like government indoc type education, where the government's controlling everything. People from around the world are not going to be able to go to these universities. It's just going to become, this very much U.S. first type of nonsense that Trump has been promoting. It's not a good thing for the educational system. Is Gary being biased? Yeah, I am. But that's because I look at the educational system, and it's okay to have different opinions. We don't have to have this, homogenous viewpoint on everything. We can have different viewpoints, and that's fine. Lesson to be learned, Queen of Pentacles. You need to take care of your education. You need to take care of things that you value. This is about being careful with things, nurturing things. Education is important. It's these are institutions of higher education, and it allows you to think freely. What Trump is trying to do is he's trying to control how you think, which is truly ironic because, rumor has it that he really didn't do much in college. He just paid people to do work for him. What's the outcome? How are the colleges or the institutions going to come from this? The outcome is a chariot. Things are going to continue to move forward. Um, they are on the mountain of right. Trump is in the valley of wrong, and they're going to continue moving forward on the mountain of right. So I'm not too worried with this spread. It's not concerning me how these colleges are doing right now. There's going to be a lot of threats against them. There's little doubt about that. Trump, he's always doubling down, right? He never, ever, ever admits defeat. If he's defeated, he just blames somebody else. It wasn't his fault. Someone else was in charge of that. Didn't even know him. He brought me coffee once in a while. All right, so JD Vance ain't happy. He probably couldn't wait to get out of the Vatican. It looks like these institutions of higher learning, at least these very prestigious Ivy League type schools, are going to be okay. They're going to keep marching forward and doing what's right. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry, that's a little more political than I typically get. But, there's a lot of shit going on in the world and people treating people like crap. And I'm really getting tired of it. The message, it's Easter. This is, Jesus died and went, he died on the cross so that we could all have eternal life in heaven. I mean, why are some people just having such a difficult time being loving and caring towards other people? I just don't get it. Thank you for listening. Sorry about that. If you like these videos, this one you might not like so much, but if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Dave and I put out a new video every night at midnight. And leave a comment. I read them all, respond to many. And if you're a MAGA and you're spouting MAGA nonsense and I'm tired or grumpy because I've been responding to comments for 4 hours and I just simply want to have a beer and watch some TV, well, so I apologize in advance, but you're not going to get a nice response from me. But you know who is going to get a nice response? Some of the wonderful people out there that have left comments or thoughtful contributions. So I'd like to acknowledge Leslie Yergo. It's Yergeau. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Thank you so much for your kind contribution yesterday. I was looking far and wide for your name, and I knew I had taken a picture of it, but I couldn't find it. So thank you so much for your kind contribution. And I was originally pulling a card. I'm going to pull you a different card. Oh, you get the chariot. So you're the outcome. Keep moving forward there, Leslie. Really appreciate you helping us. Kathy Seacrest, who wanted to shout out because she said that she and her sister Lily and her brother Bruce never got shout outs when they were kids. I mean, neither did we. So here we go. We got the 7 of Cups. You have your shout out, and now hopefully all the wonderful things that you thought would happen with the shout out will now happen for you. Like to give a shout out to Jovanka, who said my name would have never been called on Romp Room because her German mom gave her a very unique name. So Jovanka, I agree. You were not going to get to the shout out. Oh, and you get this card. So the devil card was the one I was originally pulled for Leslie. But Jovanka, what I'm going to say with this is don't let them give you a hard time about your name. I think it's a wonderful name. And I'm going to shuffle these cards now because I just... the devil card, no one's going to want that. That and the death card. Those are 2 cards people don't want on their shout-outs, right? But Jovanka, thank you so much for your kind comment. Cindy Kearns was not a Romper Room fan. She was more of a Captain Kangaroo fan. She wanted to give... she wanted me to give a shout-out to her and Mr. Moose. And guess what card I just pulled after I shuffled because I didn't want to get it anymore. Ta-da! I'm going to get you a different card here, Cindy. We're not playing the devil's card today. You're going to get the Page of Wands. It's a new message. And then finally, I'd like to give a shout out to Amy Warrior Princess, who said she was never called out on Romp Room. And I can't imagine that if your name was Amy Warrior Princess that you would have gotten shouted out on Romper Room, but it would have been a great shout out if you would have gotten it. and you get the Seven of Wands. You go out there and you defend because you're a warrior princess. Thank you so much. I apologize for all of the devil cards that just came out on these shout outs. Maybe I'll hide that card going forward. And for the rest of us out there who just want a surprise card, here we go. A nice uplifting the sun card. Spread a little sunshine into people's lives. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.